Hello everybody, I'm Lydia Ruth. Welcome to the Manse and to this broadcast, which I hope will be helpful in some way, if not maybe just entertain you. And I also hope that in your present circumstances you're doing the best you can and that you have great plans for improvement. I also wanted to explain why my hair is always down these days. I wanted to give my head a rest from having my hair coiled and put up and pinned. I just wanted to give my my scalp a little rest from it, so that's why I'm doing it. Normally I like to have the ends turned under, but that's what I'm doing. And this reminds me, do you remember back in the day when we were told how to wash our hair? We had to go with our fingers and finger comb it and rub our scalp and loosen up the hair and that sort of thing. There's a lot lost in the modern shower custom that we don't see, but when we used to have a pitcher of water by the sink and pour the water over our head to rinse it, there's a whole different dynamic that took place, and reminds me of some of the exercise I take for brain fog or for being able to focus. Many of them involve these movements that we used to have naturally when we washed our hair, because we would lean over the sink and wash our hair and shampoo. It wasn't like in the shower, and we just had a different way of doing things, and I think it's probably was very good for us. But as I was putting my hair down, I was thinking about how we used to finger comb it and then rub our scalp and get it ready to be washed. So today I also have an interesting thing to tell you. If you're not ready today, you need to make a list of preparation to get your mind focused on the work ahead at home. And one of the things that I think is so good for your brain, and I think I've posted this before, it was a link to a video someone had made which was called Your Brain on Gratitude. And someone else has made one called Your Brain on Prayer. I think there was another one. I will post them if I can remember. And so gratitude would be the first thing. So when you get up in the morning, before your brain starts getting overwhelmed with what might be ahead or what you feel like you're bogged down with at home, home is different than at anywhere else, and so you'll be responsible for it, and so it makes for quite a responsibility. And so the first thing to do is to be grateful. Some little thing. Sometimes you might find it difficult and you might think, well, I want to be grateful for some great thing. Find some little thing to be grateful for. And I was really grateful this morning that it wasn't raining when I went to get the mail. So you have to walk down this road and go and get it. And so, but there's something that releases when you have gratitude, when you have a little bit of gratefulness, just a little bit. Even if your children are giving you a hard time, even if things didn't turn out the way you want it to, I think that gratefulness relieves a great burden. Try it. Just try it. Be thankful that they are alive. Be thankful that you have a roof over your head. This is really important. And then I make another note here, is that a list for yourself, and this is for all ages. If you are a girl, older girl at home, if you are a mother with a family and you have people around you all the time, or if you are a vital woman who has mostly to please herself now or to be at home. And these are things that activate the brain and the soul, and they're just wonderful. So I would make a list for you. You get yourself a pretty little notebook and give yourself a schedule, or schedule as they say. And so every day, preparation. First, be grateful for something. You know what the scripture says, in everything give thanks. I know we think it's silly, don't we? But have you ever listened to little children? When I was growing up, there were 6 younger ones, And when it was their turn to offer the prayer at the mealtime, they would pray for the most tiny little things, and I would think, oh no, he's going to thank God for every little grain of dirt that he digs his hands in. And they did, but you know, they were all the better for it. And so that would be number one on your list. The next one would be preparation. So to prepare yourself, I would say, if you can, go outside on the grass or whatever. We have a lot of other things growing in our lawn. We don't have grass anymore, just everything else, and but mostly herbal things. Go out there if you can, walk barefoot on it, walk through your house with your cup of tea or coffee. And I wanted to discuss coffee with you today. So remember to make that one of the subjects here. Mostly I do tea, but someone gave me some Sumatra, coffee from Sumatra. That's a country, kids. There it is in your homeschooling. You can look that up now. If you're going to be homeschooled by me, you've got to start to be autodidactic and learn how to learn by yourself. So get your preparation. That would be bathing, dressing in something fresh and crisp and clean, putting your clean apron on. It'd be nice, wouldn't it? Like in the old days, they had 7 aprons, and each one had the day of the week embroidered on it with a picture, an embroidered picture of what would be done that day. Like Wednesday might be baking, and they'd have a picture of bread or something, and have a clean one every day. And then, you know, fix your hair, do whatever it is you do to be ready. And then I would suggest you do a number of different things. If you've got a little camera, go out and take a photograph of something, a flower or anything, or something in your house that you like, and send it to someone who likes you and you like back. Just like a job, and every day you do that. Get your cup of tea, and then place one of these ephemera in your little notebook and make yourself a little note to yourself. Turn it into a devotional book. Do whatever you want with it. I talked to you about that in the previous broadcast, so you can go back and look and see what I said. Read one sentence of something aloud. Read it in different ways aloud, and learn to moderate your tone, dear. I quote a lot of wives and daughters lately, and I love that one. Moderate your tone, dear. Learn to have inflection, rising inflection and falling inflection, and you have your upper resonators and your lower resonators and things like that. If you wanted to look up more about that, I found that in the 4th McGuffey Readers for Christian School. It had in the beginning, it had a lot of things about speaking in it. If you have an instrument, even if you don't play it, if you've got a piano in your house, just plunk a little bit on it, because the vibration is very, very good for you. Sing one song. You know, you can get on YouTube and get free lessons for beginners on just about anything, and you could sing a song. We used to sing while doing our housework. That kind of went by the way years ago, but we'd have the radio on at a certain time of day and we'd sing along with it. Then make an interesting sandwich. Try something different. Try something that is better than anything you've ever had. Little different combinations. Now, take a little tiny watercolor set and one of those pins that has the water in it, you know, one of those brushes that has the water in it. You unscrew it, put water in it, and go for a walk. And then, even if you don't know how to paint, and there's another free thing you can get on YouTube, and I'm talking to people of all ages. I realize the ones in the middle with the families might not be able to do all of this, but you know, you could do it with your children. And whatever they see you doing, they will probably want to do. So it's very good to have interests like this in life, because you teach them what to do with their time. And so make it sew one thing, at least spend 15 minutes on making something. Make a little card, put a new page in your little booklet that you write in, or some little thing, and write one thing in it in handwriting. Wear something pretty every day that's different from the day before. Do one exercise you have not tried before. One little stretch, one little breathing exercise. I was reading somewhere the other day that walking is incredibly good for you because it helps your eyesight because you're looking more at a distance. And clean off the table and put a little natural centerpiece on it. That means you're going to have to go outside and pick something. Now, on the days when I go outside and the weather's miserable and there's nothing really pretty growing, I'm happy just to bring in a couple of blades of grass because it's doing it that counts. Now, every evening, you get your cup of whatever you like and you go for your final walk outside. You get your bath, you get a good book or a movie, and you settle down, and everybody needs to wind down. You can't just like, okay, everybody, go to bed, be quiet, go to sleep. Everyone has to have some little way of slowing down on the way to sleeping. So that is all I can tell you right now on preparation. Write one sentence in careful penmanship, and I think that was all that I was able to write down. So I wanted to show you something that I bought at the Hobby Lobby, and it's called Ideology, and it is a collection of, now I could have made these myself, but you know, I didn't want one more thing to do, and so these are just strips of pretty cardstock that I'm using as bookmarks in all the magazines and cookbooks. You know, you get a cookbook, you might find one or two recipes that you like and use often. I don't want to look them up again, so I just put one of these markers in it. It's the same with books. There might be a poem, there might be something in there that I use often, or parts of a book that I go and find. I don't want, in my magazines, my old Victorian magazines, I use these because, and I might write on the back of them what that was that I was looking at and why. And that way, I don't have to go flip through everything anymore. And I've got all these, I wonder how many there are. They didn't say how many. Sometimes they say there are 89 pieces. That's a lot. So I'm happy. I'm happy I got to get that. And the cost, it says, was $5.99, but I think there was a discount that day. Where shall I go from here? Okay, kids, I'll tell you what's happening here today. I thought that Victorian Magazine had lost its way, lost the plot, as they say. I got really tired of some of the stuff that was in it that didn't feel appropriate. You know, you want something for your family you can lay on the coffee table and people can flip through, and sometimes there was some stuff in it that I didn't think was any good, but today they made me happy. And I got so much delight. First of all, I want to show you what they do is they put a piece of cardstock on the cover to protect it, and it's got this little sticky stuff, and then they have the beautiful cover, which is so nice and glossy. And it was so delightful because in this issue, which is July-August, they reenacted Anne of Green Gables. And all the girls that were doing the photo shoot for the costumes, everything modest, everything elegant, and they even went to, I believe they went to Prince Edward Island to do the shoot, because there you see a facsimile of Anne looking out, and absolutely delightful. And then old embroidery where it was just, remember those embroideries that we used to iron on and you just did an outline with your thread? They have that in there this time. And I really liked the advertisements because the advertisements are for seeds and gardening things, and for teapots and, you know, household things. I'm trying to see what all there was. And they did go to Prince Edward Island, and there is a picture of some of the things. And I was really proud of this issue. I think I could safely buy it and give it to somebody. And they even had the recipes from the Anne of Green Gables cookbook, which was so nice. The settings absolutely gorgeous. So yes, this is highly recommended. It made me happy to get it. There's some more of that outline embroidery that they had. When we were children, our mother would just get us an embroidery hoop. Those were real cheap in those days. Draw a picture on a piece of fabric and just have us outline stitch. It helped us learn how to stitch. So, oh goodness, the first thing I like to do is look for where the flowers are. There. So kids, I'm going to go to the grocery store and get a couple of these so I can give away one or two, and one for my daughter. And so that is what is going on here. Let's have some Edgar A. Guest, shall we? I have so many notes. It's such a mess, so I decided what I would do is just get the books out and read them and make comments, and that way I can have some content. Now, I have an Edgar A. Guest here. I'm going to get all this junk out of here and put those new strips of paper in it. Okay, so I'm going to read you a poem by Edgar Guest. And as I had told you before, his history apparently was that it was after, I'm trying to think what his years were. It doesn't say in this book. 1934 was when this book was copyrighted. 1934. So you figure out which war that was. That after this war, he came from England to America, became an American citizen, and he worked for a newspaper, and his job was to find human interest stories and things to fill up this page. In those days, the newspapers had the human interest stories, and they even had patterns you could order or patterns you could cut out. Very interesting. And so after a while, you know, you have to hunt these things down, you have to find all this stuff. He found it easier to write his own poems. What a wonderful find that was. And he knew that after the war, Americans would need encouragement. As you notice, a lot of them really nice songs came out about that, like Keep on the Sunny Side of Life. Let me see if I've got that song here somewhere. Keep on the Sunny Side of Life, one of the most popular songs. There it is. I'll read that to you. Now kids, if you've got work to do, you can do this. You can be washing dishes while you listen, okay? And some of the music that came out about that time was it was almost considered, even after you had hard times, here, that generation of that era. Of course, you had your sourpusses, but it was always considered to be a blight on your family, or a blight on the church, or almost disloyal to your heritage, and disloyal and ungrateful for your life if you were sour, if you talked down about things all the time, or complained about your lot in life. And we had great joy in acting like everything was okay. In fact, it was quite amusing. In fact, it amused us. That's what many stories came out. That's what Anne of Green Gables' story was all about, and you know, overcoming hardship and overcoming sadness. And so I want to read this song to you, Keep on the Sunny Side of Life. There's a dark and a troubled side of life. There's a bright and a sunny side too. Though we meet with the darkness and strife, the sunny side we also may view. Though the storm in its fury breaks today, crushing hopes that we cherished so dear. Can't you just feel it? Storm and cloud will in time pass away. That's true. Nothing stays the same. The sun again will shine bright and clear. Let us greet with a song of hope each day. Okay, add that to your morning routine list. Sing a song. Though the moments be cloudy or fair, let us trust in our Savior alway, who keepeth every one in his care. Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It will help us every day. It will brighten all the way if we keep on the sunny side of life. And I was thinking about this second verse here where it says, crushing hopes that we cherished so dear. Storm and cloud will in time pass away. The sun again will shine bright and clear. Well, this is true. However, there are people that want to rehearse the sorrow and the heartbreak and the disappointment, want to rehearse it over and over and keep it running in their life so they have this constant sadness, and they don't want to go on from there and have other interests in life. And so I want to encourage you as a homemaker not to get stuck that way and to keep on the sunny side of life, because then it opens your mind and yourself and your home to greater opportunities and achievement in many ways at home. Okay, so now back to Edgar Guest, The Love of Beauty. You can look this up on your Edgar A. Guest site that you find on the internet. And here we go. This has got an interesting, I wish I had explained the last couple poems that I read to you, because, oh my goodness, these people were not great therapists or psychologists or doing studies in human nature. They were just writing poems about life. And that is one thing that I think is wonderful about having homeschooled my children and hopefully homeschooling you, is it's not about book knowledge. It's not about being book smart. It's about being life smart. It's about learning how to live and enjoying every moment of it. The Love of Beauty by Edgar A. Guest. Now, when we used to have to, is that a proper phrase? I don't know. I like it though, because it's colloquial. When we had to recite a poem, this is how we had to do it. We had to mention the author, and this is how you did it. The Love of Beauty by Edgar A. Guest. You had to say it that way. The love of beauty once possessed outlives the sordid dust and grime, and holds its dwelling in the breast against the ravages of time. And this is why a woman wan and grayed and beaten by defeat, from day to day will struggle on to keep an ugly dwelling neat. Day after weary day we see her battling in the dirt and dust, fighting the filth of poverty because her nobler nature must. So fond of beauty humans are that often in a squalid room a woman fills with stones a jar and brings a lily bulb to bloom. Isn't that just the most profound, sweetest thing you ever heard? That we are here to get rid of the dust. And I've known these type of people. No matter what their lot, they tidied it up. And as Gladys Aylward said in her book, The End of the Sixth Happiness, I don't know if that was the original title or not, when someone asked her, well, what will you do now that your mission is over and there's nothing here to stay for? She said, well, if your house is dirty, you can clean it. So she was just going to take whatever job was the closest to her and do it. It's good for your brain too. But I love this. It says that a woman will struggle on to keep an ugly dwelling neat. It's our obligation. It's our glorifying to God. It's in everything. Do what is noble, what is lovely, and what is good. And not only that, but there's a message in it to other people because they know about you. They know about your life. They know about your attitude. Where shall I go next? Let me see. I wanted to bring you to the attention to Greater Health God's Way by Stormy O'Martin, and she, or Martian, she has written, and I believe that she had 9 or 10 things that were really important for health, and this was written before the internet. Now, kids, I have had enough of these comments about we don't use the internet. Be careful what you read on the internet. Listen, there were just as many nutty people before the internet. I lived before the internet, and there were publications galore coming into people's houses and capturing their minds. And sometimes we got the strangest visits from people. At least now people stay home and look at their phone and mind their own business. But we just endured some of the strangest beliefs. And nobody said, be careful what you read in the mail or anything. I mean, we just thought people would use their own discernment. But when you come up with something, when I come up with something and I say I find that really interesting, I did a little research, oh, did you read that on the web? They just, all that is like an encyclopedia. And some people put good stuff out, some people put bad stuff out, but it's no different than a set of encyclopedias. I threw out a whole set of encyclopedias because it was full of so much garbage, some modern encyclopedia that I had found somewhere. And when they say, oh, we don't use the internet, and they feel so righteous because I do. I use the internet and I use the phone, and I text people. And I'm on Live 360 so that my kids know where I am. They know where I'm when I go to the Hobby Lobby. Hi, Mom. I saw you at the Hobby Lobby. Thing is, when they say, we don't use the internet, we don't read the web, we don't go to YouTube, I say, oh, really? Well, before the internet, did you read the newspapers? Did you read Newsweek and Time Magazine? Did you listen to the radio, to the news on the radio and all the other stuff on the radio? Did you watch TV? Yeah, because, there were very few people. If we didn't watch TV, we didn't go around saying, we don't watch TV. We just left it. We just didn't do it. But now that there's the internet, I get the occasional person that will say, well, don't believe everything you read on the internet. No, it's just a research thingy. So let me see what I want to tell you about. But anyway, Greater Health God's Way. We had these kind of books, and books will break down and they will break apart, and they don't always last, especially these soft cover ones. But she had an excellent book on the danger of artificial lighting in your home, and the good fats and the bad fats, and how to fast, and how you need the sun, and things like that. And now you can find it all in various places if you do some research online. And I've had to explain to people, yes, I use YouTube and I use the internet. I'm on YouTube because, but we use it for good. And it's the same as when you had all those books in the house. There'd be a bookmark in one part that you could believe, and the other parts you'd have to ignore. But really, that's all I want to say about that. This is that we use it for beneficial things and for good. So now I'm going to read to you about the coffee. I wanted to read to you about this coffee because, and also to remind you to check yourself throughout the day, look in your eyes and see how you're doing, see what your attitude is. And as you get older, you're going to find that there is a purpose in all of this. So let me find the coffee list. The coffee, it's called The Benefits of Sumatra Coffee. I think that's how you pronounce it. Those of you who live there will probably know. But I wanted to read this to you because someone gave me some and told me that it was low in acid. So I started to read about it, and this is what I came up with. There are several locations here for this information here. Sumatra coffee offers several potential health and enjoyment benefits, primarily due to its unique processing and rich flavor. It's known to be low in acid, which can be easier on the stomach for some individuals. It contains antioxidants that may help protect against certain diseases. And so then it explains all that. And reduces the risk of chronic diseases like heart disease, diabetes, and certain cancers. You look all this up yourself, okay? Low acidity, unique flavor, and can be made in many different ways. And it can boost your energy and focus. And I have another coffee called Focus, and it's got some kind of mushroom powder in it, which is very, very good. So here's one from somebody called Enhancing Health Through Sumatra Dark Roast Coffee. So Sumatra. And talks about how it has an antioxidant powerhouse, good for heart, enhances brain function, heart health, metabolic boost, energy, breaks down fat cells, etc., liver protection, mood enhancement, and etc. So you want to look that up. That might be interesting to you. It's a very smooth, mild coffee without bitterness, because I did try it. And then maybe in another video I'll show you the little thing that I make it in, which is very easy. Okay, so I've read that to you. And now I want to show you a book. And this is what it looks like when it has its cover on it. The one that I got didn't have a cover. It's called 505 Quick Tips to Make Your Home Sensational. Sense meaning sense, and that means looking, smelling, and you know, just the different aspects of the senses in your home, how to put that in your home. You know, I wanted to put that on there, and I'll put it on the, if you're new here, or even if you're old here, please go to the link in the description box and click it on and go to the blog where I have embedded this video so you can watch it and see all the pictures I include with it, and maybe a few things around the manse today. Had an awful cold day out there. And I will put that on there so you can get one for yourself. These books are sometimes under $5 on various used books sites. And this is what it looks like without the cover, because I didn't have a cover. It didn't come with a cover, but I just love the size. And I love the color. And when I'm decorating, sometimes I'll set this on and you know, put a teacup on top of it. But these are for your girls, for your older girls. This is such a treasure. And so I wanted to start out with color, because she has it divided into feel, look, smell, sound, and taste. Your girls need this book, and since there's 505 quick tips, they could do one a day for a long time, or two a day, and try to maybe emulate it or practice it. Oh, and I wanted to tell you one more thing about this Anne of Green Gables issue here. It's what I liked about it. Now, we would have done something like this in homeschool. Is we would have just reenacted an Anne of Green Gables day, the way you would do a Jane Austen day. And I'm fixing to arrange a Wives and Daughters Day with Molly, and the costumes and the food, and maybe everybody come with a few familiar phrases. I'll just do that with my girls, my family, my daughter and granddaughter, anybody else that wants to participate. But I liked it that, you know, you could reenact all this. I grew up with the Anne of Green Gables book because my mother was Canadian, and she was from the prairies, and she lived in I believe she lived in a house that had one of those hard dirt floors. You wouldn't have thought of it as dirt because it was really nice and flat and shiny and everything. But she said they loved them. They loved the Anne of Green Gables stories because her mother was one of the orphans that came out on the train, and it's a very interesting story. So, color your world, it says in this, starting out with color. And I wanted to say something about that real quick, and that is to get your daughters or yourself and study color. You can find a lot on the internet that has come, where people have printed whole books on there about color, and lots of scientific information about color and the effect it has on your mood and your brain and your sense of well-being. And one of my first videos when I first started doing this, these videos, was I took you through the Bible from start to finish and just pointed out various aspects of color that were mentioned and what it meant, how color was used to what it represented. This little book is just, I just love it. So color your world. Which colors please you the most? Now, I love the drawings. The drawings are really nice because if your girl wants to start a little notebook of her own, she can just kind of copy these drawings and learn to sketch. And, you know, children and even older people, we're influenced and we learn art by looking at it. And so you can just copy it. So she could start her own little notebook using a page a day here. God, the master artist, has painted beautiful colors on his outdoor canvas. Isn't that nice? Which colors please you the most? Color shapes every sight and influences on every emotion. Surround your private world in the rainbow of your choice. You are the artist, your home is the canvas. Remember that magazine I had where there was an outdoor picture of flowers on an arbor, and it said, decorate your home. Use this scene to decorate your home, and it was a challenge to take the colors and the different shapes and the shiny things and the dull things and create a home with that aspect. Let's see if I can find it again. So, and I just thought that was really good. And then here is a Begin My Favorite Things box, and there's a little hat box. And back in the day when you couldn't get, now you can go to the Hobby Lobby now and get boxes, hat boxes and stuff, but back in the day when we couldn't get one, I learned from a craft magazine how to make a round box. It's a lot of trouble. But in this round box, she suggests, collect your favorite items like trims, fabric swatches, ribbons, paper napkins, stationery, and other colorful things. And then it will help you to discover what is the most appealing to you. And I remember in the day, if you even went to what would be called a fast food restaurant today, you saved the napkin because it had some kind of design on it, and you saved the menu, and you saved tickets. You know that when you went to something, you saved the ticket as part of your scrapbook and your history. And then over here, it says start a dream file. There's a little file. You don't have to buy things like that. You can just take a couple pieces of cardstock and glue them together. Collect pictures from your favorite home magazines and file clippings also by room, you know, in order by room, in a file or a pretty notebook, or with clear plastic sheets that have the, you know, connecting holes. As patterns emerge in what catches your eye, you'll begin to discover your style. You begin to discover what you like. Now, here's another one on color. Make a splash with color. And I just encourage you, there is a book you can get about color and what the meanings of it is and how it affects you. Like, you know, yellow is sunny and bright, and it reminds you of hope and optimism. And yes, you feel differently when you enter a room that has a yellow cushion and a little yellow blanket on it. It's different. Make a splash with color. Bring color into your bathroom with pretty towels and rugs that coordinate with the room's decor. And so your girls will really enjoy this book and it will be worn out. But if they start their own notebooks based on this book, they won't have to have this book. They can write out what they have read here in their notebook and then put a little swatch of fabric on it or a little clipping or something like that and make themselves a scrapbook. Where are we now? Alright, speaking of scrapbooks, kids, I got out my daughter's scrapbook for when she was, I'm thinking 12 years old. And this was before the scrapbook sensation hit all the craft stores, and you could get cardstock and you could get, real pretty ephemera and things to put in it. So what we did is we would cut out stuff out of magazines, and that was a plate that was advertised, a Thomas Kincaid plate that was advertised in this magazine. Unfortunately, it didn't have anything else written on it, so she put that in there. We didn't have special glue or anything in those days. And this was called Homemaking. And we tied it with a ribbon. And I believe that the paper we used was they were called manila folder files. We just cut them up and made them into pages. So, and I've shown this before. And so here, one of her first craft and sewing projects was we had a Victorian doll pattern, and you could make the Victorian doll. That's been in that sewing room that's behind me. Sometimes I'll tell you that's the doll she sewed. And so we were making all the costumes and the hats and things according to the instructions. And she made a pair of Victorian doll skates and put it in her scrapbook, because it's a record, of what you did, and it's kind of a pattern. And then she made, from American Girl Handybook, she made this fan. You cut these separate pieces, you weave ribbon through the holes, you need a hole punch and everything. And then she had pockets. This was before scrapbooking ever came out, and she just automatically knew how to do things. Now look at this. There is a little village with a Victorian house and everything, and it just amazes me. This was before the scrapbooking rage all came out. She just knew. I don't know where she got this idea. She might have had it in it. That might have been in a craft book to make a Victorian house village. And so let me see, what else did she do? This was her first learning to make quilt box, and this was called the windmill. The windmill. I can't get it out, but that was learning to make a quilt box. And we found this pattern in a magazine, in a quilt magazine. So if you want to start your girls on making, just start them out making just a piece like this. And if they like it, then they can make another one, and then they can eventually join them together. But you just buy a quilt magazine somewhere, like at the grocery store, at the Walmart. And don't get overwhelmed by it. Just look for something that's just one block. Don't try to finish the quilt or anything, but just at least have the experience and put it in her notebook. So the learning skills that were contained in this were matching seams, color coordination, quilting, use of leftover fabric. And this was a little doll from the, this was from the Victorian doll clothes pattern, a little Victorian blouse. I've showed you this before many years ago. And then we had magazines. They weren't really, didn't have very nice pages or anything, not very nice paper, but we did what we could and took out the best of it so she could have a section. And look what she's done. She made these little tabs: decorating, sewing, crafts, cleaning, food. I don't think I want to do all of this, but I will maybe show you from time to time. There's just so much in here. We even had how to teach children a little Bible story, and she made a house like the the flat roof house they would have had in what we call Bible times, and she picked out gardening stuff and everything. I mean, they weren't like really great like you can buy today, but That just shows you do the best you can with what you have at the time. Now, speaking of scrapbooks and stuff, here's something else. Now, you of a vital age might like this, and it's the Little House on the Prairie paper dolls. And you can get these at thrift books or Abe Books or Amazon or anything on the web. And I won't be taking them apart or using them, but if you are an older girl at home, this is one of the best ways to learn how to put together a scene. If you'll notice, this came with the book, and you take it apart and you make a big, there's the outdoor scene, and this is the indoor scene right here, and you put these characters in here, and you give them a home. And you might think because you're an older girl, you're all grown up and everything, you don't need to do this, but you know why you need to do it? Because you need to know how to do it for younger people. You need to show them how to do it. Now, we found paper dolls. This is a recent book that I found on the web, but we didn't have anything like this, so we just made paper dolls, and then we designed clothing for them, in which we wanted to figure out how to sew ourselves for ourselves. So we used it as a way of designing. And so there's some of the costumes that were there, and what an absolute delight. And of course, we wanted to wear these things because we had the books, and we just thought it was kind of nice. And at the time, the Laura Ashley patterns and the Laura Ashley stores were available, and they kind of reflected some of this type of styles, and quite well received. Now, there's a page that had the furniture and stuff. I had a book years ago that showed how to, like you make the paper doll and make a little stand for it, and then you make all this furniture. So it looks like I have been talking too much already. I don't know if I'm going to get everything done that I wanted to do here. Let me see what I have. Yes, I talked about hope chests last time I was here. Now, those of you who didn't, hope chests kind of quit back in the day. Maybe in the 80s you didn't hear so much about them, and some of you might feel that you have missed out on them. Maybe you want your daughter to work on hope chests, and I think it's important to put things like this in hope chests because, and these scrapbooks and things, because they are samples, and they will help many times. And you should in your hope chest not just have dish towels and baby clothes, but you need to have samples of how to make paper snowflakes, how to make paper hearts, how to make toys, how to just different things on how to do things, preserve these. You don't know if you're going to be able to buy everything. You don't prepare that hope chest for hard times. Even if you don't think you'll ever have a hard time, we need to have some kind of sample of what to do. And you need to have a notebook where you write down, what will you do when the lights go out? How do you handle that? How do you handle a cold day at home? There's so much more to a hope chest than just a couple of blankets. So, ladies, be sure and research that. You can go on the web and you can find books on how the hope chest was filled and how you need to fill it today. The other thing is that small projects that you can finish in a day, as far as creativity for the home, are very important because they're so good for your brain. People weren't embroidering or making things, sitting in their chair and knitting just for leisure. It was considered in the day that it was for character. It was to build characters, to bring on the silence, bring on the, what I said about that scripture last time, in quietness and peace shall be your strength. You revive, you recharge when you're quiet and when you're working with your hands. And so I had this little felt craft book here, and it had toys in it, and felt crafts you could glue, you just cut and glue, or you can sew, and there were toys in it. And I thought how interesting that is to be able to make toys, and have another book that tells how to make paper kites. So for little tiny children, so if you're grown up and you're still at home, you're not married yet, but you're home, you need to know about these things so that you can be helpful, to younger people. And so I wanted to show you a couple of things that I liked. There was animals, little bunnies in here you make out of felt. And then what I thought was interesting, since I have the wooden kitchen in here for children, and I like it. I like to look at it. I like to move things around in it. And they had little cakes made out of felt. Yes, they're made out of felt, and cookies made out of felt. So that will be nice, and I could just make, looky here. Here is a cake and a piece of cake and a pie, and they're just delightful and just to sit and sew them in. But the trouble with modern women, and I felt it coming on way back in the early 60s, is why are you doing that? That's not intelligent. That's a waste of time. No, it isn't. It's good for the brain. And I have found that women of a vital age, and even teenage girls, and women under stress do better when they have things like this to do that are just a delight. That's all. And, we're supposed to be happy. We're obligated to be happy. The scripture says to be happy. Happy is the man that gets wisdom and understanding. And sometimes it isn't in studying, but in just quiet pastimes. Very, very good for you. Plus, you teach your children to spend time being quiet. And so if you could just do one project that you could finish, that's quite satisfying. So I really liked the food part of this. Look, there's some cinnamon rolls. Gain weight with that, can you? And then there are patterns in the back of it, and so I will try to put a picture of that on the blog so that you can see what it was. Let me see. Also, if you have girls at home, I don't know where to go with this. I'm showing you a lot of books today, and I don't want you to feel you have to be dependent on books and stories, because what would you do if you didn't have the books and you didn't have the stories? Well, I've always said, all right, we don't have any books. Do you know how to fold a piece of paper in half? You've got 4 pages there. You could write a story on it, make a little library for your paper dollhouse. And so you need to be able to tell stories. And the way that you tell a story is, first of all, you're going to have a subject, and then you're going to have the characters who are engrossed in this subject, and then they progress, and then you have to have an ending. And sometimes it's good just to tell the story while the children are resting. And I can remember telling stories. I get started on it, and then I would fall asleep, and then the next day one of the children would say, tell us the rest of such and such a story, and I couldn't remember what it was. But there were these gift books going around in the 1980s when the museums were finally letting, this was before the web too, when they were finally letting out showing the paintings of the 17 and 1800s, and they were poetry books as well as paintings. And the poems and the stories in these books went with the paintings. Like, look, doesn't that look like a scene in Wives and Daughters? Well, this was published way back in the, I believe, 1980s, and we enjoyed the costumes and things. And here's one of them, a lady with looks like a dove sitting on her shoulder. Well, because this is all we could find, my girl liked those costumes. She liked that, and she liked the poems that went with them, and they were always clean. And so the poem at the 1800s 17 and 1800s. The poetry, the art, the music, the architecture, the stories and stuff were all kind of in alignment with each other. The style just went together. The gardens and everything just went together. Let me see if I can find something else here. This is a lady reading a book. What a familiar scene. Like when we were kids, that was our favorite thing to do, is get something, a blanket, put it on the ground, and read a book. And let me see here. And so in the back of these books, you could look up who the artist was. Well, when the web came along, I got them out again, and I started looking up the artists, and there was such a huge amount of their paintings. And there's a poem about a stream of water and a painting. I don't know who it was. Keeping things like this around are a great influence to your girls. And if you are of a vital age, there's more to life than thinking that your work is done, because it's only just begun, because that next generation is going to want to know, what did you do and what are you doing now, because they will be your age one day, so you need to show them what to do and how to live. I keep wondering though, when you get elderly, how come when I was a little girl, the elderly women sat in rocking chairs and knit things and didn't seem to have a care in the world? I don't have time to sit down. All right, now, things to read. I love these books. They're called 9 Historical Stories, and they're written by different authors. But one of the things, and they're from Barber Books, which is a Christian organization. Okay, Christian publishing. I want you to look at these decal edges. Isn't that enchanting, these little, the way they're cut, rough cut? I just love it. It's like parchment, decal edges on these. I guess they're not really decal, but they're cut differently on these books. So whenever I see one on thrift books that's not real worn, I get them, because I can get them for $2 or $3, and then my granddaughter and daughter will pick them up, and the stories are real short. Now, they say they're romances. They're not very romantic. It's mostly about people overcoming things in historical times, you know. So, if you need reading material for your girls, these are good. They're clean, but they give them hope, and they give them an ideal to look for in their future life and getting their future home. And there was one that I'm after that's talking about the hope chest, that was stories about the hope chests. Let me see what else I have here. Mostly books today. So I guess I'm just nearly finished here. And I needed to tell you though, that when you get books for your children and grandchildren, you don't just hand them a book. You make sure you tell them what chapter is the best, maybe have them read it to you. And you know what I did with my children when I was homeschooling was to make them autodidactic, to make them self-teaching. I didn't have time to read all the curriculum. I didn't have time to read all the books that they wanted to read and everything. So I would say, you come in the kitchen while I work, and you read to me out of this book. So that's how I found out what was in the homeschool books, is they would read them to me. So then they would have to discuss, I would say, what did you read? What did you just read aloud to me? Can you summarize it for me? And that's how they learn reading comprehension. So I think that's really important. But you can also educate yourself on many of these things. If there's anything you'd like me to talk about, please leave it in the comments, and I'll try to do that. Let me check and see, was there anything else that I was going to tell you about? Yeah, I wanted to mention the word discretion. And because the scripture talked about the word discretion and a woman of discretion and discreet, it's spelled D-I-S-C-R-E-T-E, and discretion is D-I-S-C-R-E-T-I-O-N. It means, so discretion, which all of our girls need to learn, and even the elderly women need to learn, being careful what we do and say, is like discretion. The quality of behaving or speaking in such a way as to avoid causing offense or revealing private information. And what are we but a product of a culture that thinks if you don't reveal all of the stupid things you ever did, that you're hiding something. The freedom to decide what should be done in a particular situation. People would ask, I'll leave it to your discretion. In other words, I'll leave it to your judgment. And it's from the Old French and the English discernment, Middle English, Old French. The power or right to decide or act according to one's own judgment, freedom of judgment, or choice. It is entirely within my discretion whether I will go or stay. The quality of being discreet, especially with reference to one's own action and speech, prudence or decorum. I imagine it would involve privacy. We need to be very careful not to reveal as much as we do these days. Now, the biblical meaning of the word discretion, Proverbs 22:3. The ability to avoid words, actions, and attitudes which could result in undesirable consequences. Think about what you're saying. Think about where someone's minds go. It's just terrible, isn't it? And you have to word everything so carefully because some people cannot, they don't have comprehension. And so they'll take one little word that you say and go somewhere else with it, which is completely off the subject. And I often say, well, the central point of what I was trying to say is this, and then I simplify it and I break it down till I say just a very few words. So what does somebody mean when they say, I'll leave it up to your discretion? It means I will let you make the decision. Discretion is the quality of showing good judgment. So, let me see what else there is. What does discretion mean in Proverbs 11:22? A woman with discretion, in this case, is the one who acts sensibly and with self-control, as opposed to one who is crude and offensive or tacky. Amazing, isn't it? Very good. Very good. And it also means good taste. A person's awareness of what is appropriate and respectable and well-mannered. A woman with discretion, in this case, is the one who acts sensibly and with self-control, as opposed to one who is crude and offensive. Proverbs 31:10 describes a truly virtuous woman as far more precious than jewels. So, that is all that I want to end with today. I wish I had time to have talked more about some of the other things that are concerning to women at home. The most important thing, of course, is that you remain focused. I will try to include some exercises that I have been doing in the morning when I get up and I can't seem to settle down and focus. And one of the things we have to face is we are self-employed. So we will have to leave it up to our own discretion to know what to do first and sometimes a few of these little stretch exercises or breathing exercises can really help. And so, ladies, till I see you again, I hope you'll stay close to Christ. Make sure you read His Word, because that is the way that you can discern His will, and also to motivate yourself to glorify God in all that you do at home. So whether you are a young lady at home with your mother, or you are in the middle there with your children and your family and you're busy, focused on all the activity, or whether you are more, we call it vital because our vitals are still working, our heart's still beating, our pulse is still going, so we're vital women. Or whether you're vital and spend most of the time alone, there is great, God said, I know my plans for you, plans for good and not for evil, that you'll have a future and a hope. So there's a future and a hope for everyone at every level. So I hope to see you next time. Thanks for visiting, and if you have sent me something and I need to send you something, it's in the file, it's in the box. Hopefully I will get to it. I've been very busy at home right now, and so just be patient, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.